supply chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Everybody is back to school. They're going back to maybe the office. Well, I hope you guys all have a great day and a great week. But now it's time for Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, blended podcast, blended pledge. And I'm super excited about the show today because we've got Kelly Lopez on the show. And we're going to be talking all about what you need to know around sales for the rest of 2025 and into 2026. There's some mindset shifts. She's got some great market updates. I've got a really fun story around Night Rider. You might be wondering what that has to do with supply chain. Well, I'll tell you in a little bit. But first, let's give a shout out to our show sponsor, the Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you have not gone to check that out, go and check it out. secretsocietyofsupplychain.com. We have a couple of membership groups. One of them is free. Then we've got Women in Supply Chain Connections. We'd love to see you in there. People are getting engaged. They're having some great conversations and can't wait to see you there. Now, I want to give a shout out to some of our newest Secret Society of Supply Chain members. We've got Faye, Sarah Hale, and Pavithra. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you in the community. Now, if you're watching today, I want to know where you are watching from, so make sure to put that in the comments. And if you're loving the conversation, let's hit that fire emoji. Put that in the comments because I want to know that you are loving it. All right. Let's get to what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain this week. So we've got a brand new Woman in Supply Chain episode. It's episode 488. I can't even believe this, but I think we're going to be hitting almost 500 episodes in the next couple of months, which I'm super excited about. And I think the team has something fun planned for that. But for this particular episode, you know, our Woman in Supply Chain series really focuses around women in the industry talking about their career journey. What does that look like? What advice do they have for everybody? And Kimberly Rodriguez is no different. Very insightful, brings a lot of value, a lot of really great advice, and I loved learning about her career journey. So go and check that out wherever you listen or watch the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and I promise you will love it. All right. We are going live on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you have not clicked the attend button for this, this is a do not miss event. We've got Mary McNally, SVP over at Fender, one of my personal friends, and she is always bringing the nuggets of information. So make sure you come and check this out. Sponsored by 910 Advisors. They're also going to be on here. And if you missed their podcast episode, super insightful around cost to serve. If you're not thinking about cost to serve, this is the place to be on Thursday. And even if you can't attend live, make sure to click the attend button and I'm going to send you the link to the recording. Now we've got a brand new Woman in Supply Chain blog as well. So again, you can learn all about Elena's career journey and how she's led through kindness throughout her supply chain journey. So go and check that out. The link is in the comments to all of these things. Next, where are we going to be? Well, in November 6th, I'm going to be at the Visibility Now conference. And that same day, we're going to be sharing with you some interviews that I'm going to be doing on site here live on the Let's Talk Supply Chain pages. So stay tuned for that because we're going to bring that to you as well. Woman in Supply Chain Forum, November 18th through 20th in Clearwater, Florida. Katie Date and I are going to be doing a workshop that you're not going to want to miss. So if you haven't signed up, go and check it out. Can't wait to see you there. It's always a great time. And last but not least, Manifest 2026, February 9th through 11th. I'm going to be there recording podcasts on site. And we've got a big announcement that we haven't said anything about yet. So stay with me because we're going to be announcing that very, very soon of what we've got going on at Manifest. On September 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be hosting a webinar with BlackBerry Radar and Medlog. These are always great because we get to find out firsthand from their clients how they're using asset tracking and what it means to their bottom line. So if you haven't registered for that, head over to the comments. The link will be in there and we'd love to see you there. Last but not least, September 15th, we are hosting a pickleball slam at IANA. This is the first ever one. We're going to be hosting this again at TPM in March as well. If you're going to be in the Long Beach area, you want to sign up for this, whether you want to be a player or you want to come watch. We've got some fun things ready for you at this pickleball slam, and I can't wait to see you there. Even if you haven't played pickleball, this is going to be the place to be. So all the links are in the comments. If you're over on my personal, we will get the links in those comments once the show is over. But now, without further ado, it is time to bring up our guest for today. How are you? Welcome.
Good. I'm good. Thank you. Love the round of applause there.
So they just came out with these sounds, and so our back-end producer Nicole and I are testing some of this out. So we want to hear from you in the audience. If you like the applause, we've got some more coming out in a little bit as well, because we think they're a little bit fun. All right, for anybody who does not know you, why don't you tell us who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your company?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, I'm Kelly Lopez. I'm the founder and sales strategist behind KloEdge, and we're a B2B sales consultancy that's really designed to help companies sell, grow faster, scale. So whether it's looking for a new product or service launch, or maybe you're struggling with sales and you're looking for a refresh, or just looking to take it to the next level, we help companies find their competitive edge and put together strategies and playbooks and all those good things to help all those aggressive founders and businesses really compete and win when they go up against the industry giants. So thank you so much for having me.
I love that. And you've got some fans already in the comments. Kelly here and ready to cheer you on. We're so happy to see everybody. And you've been doing some work with Let's Talk Supply Chain. And I just want to give a shout out because it has been awesome to work with Kelly. Now, she's going to share a ton of great insights today, but I do want to give that plug because she's really been helping us hone in on our sales strategy and everything that we're doing. So great job. Keep it up.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun.
All right, so let's get to the poll of the week. So we ask everybody a question every single Wednesday morning on the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn. Sometimes it's supply chain related. Sometimes we just like to have a little bit of fun. And then we get comments. They're like, why isn't it supply chain related? Well, we need to take a break sometimes. Anyways, so the question we asked everybody last week, if your logistics team were a movie genre, which one would it be? Well, we had 169 votes for this one. So people love this one. 35% of you said action. 27% of you said drama, 24% of you said comedy, and 14% of you said thriller. Wow. What do you think about these answers, and where would you land in here, Kelly?
I thought these answers were just so typical supply chain. I mean, it's not one drama. It's not one genre. It's like the entire streaming service binged, and that's like Tuesday morning before your day gets started. I mean, this is crazy. But I would say I'd fall into action, always trying to move fast, get things done. But this was hilarious just to see how evenly split the results were.
I know. And honestly, I was looking at this and I was like, it kind of depends on the day, right? I feel like supply chain professionals throughout a whole week. I mean, there's 5 whole days. There's only 4 genres on here, right? And so I feel like Monday could be action. Tuesday could be a little bit of drama. Wednesday could be some comedy, because, you have some of those days where like nothing goes right and you just have to laugh about it. So that's where I see the comedy coming in. And then Thursday can be thriller. And then I'm hoping like Friday is like, Ferris Bueller's day off for everybody, where you can just sort of relax and be yourself and just do some quirky things.
You know that's the plan. Friday's always the plan to have Ferris Bueller Day, but no, that's right when you're in the middle of the thriller. What's going to happen.
Well, and Matt Wilkinson actually agreed with me in the comments. They said, I consider it a mixture of all of these. But the current stage many organizations are at is drama until communication. Oh my goodness, I love that. I love these polls because it gets the community talking and you hear different perspectives from people, and it always, is so eye-opening. Anyways, so now it's time for a bit of a market update. So talk to us about, in your world, what are people thinking about? What are they talking about? What are they worried about? Let's talk about all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give it to you a little bit with a sales lens
Sure.
because, I mean, let's be
Why
honest,
not?
it takes a little bit more than, fuel and coffee to keep the supply chain going. You got to have sales in there to fire up the engine. But I think what's happening right now, unfortunately, buyer behavior is shifting a little bit, and the sales cycle is becoming longer, which nobody wants to
Woo!
hear.
Nobody wants. Yeah.
Especially at a time when so many people are pouring so much money into AI to shorten the sales cycle. But I think overall there seems to be somewhat of an expectation for SaaS service speed with complex enterprise level relationships, and it's just going to deeply disappoint people when it comes down to it. So, a lot of buyer indecision right now because of so much confusion. There's just so much noise right now in the market, and so everything is slowing down and people are taking more time to make decisions. So it's not a fun world, but for those companies that are cutting through the noise, they can be clear winners and get all those budget dollars in before the end of the year.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about how companies can do that coming up in the show. I want to ask you before I go into my little Knight Rider thing. Personal over AI. You said companies are investing in AI to shorten the cycles. Where are we winning? Where are we losing?
I think the research is where we're winning. I mean, big time the research. So a lot of the legwork that's going into is definitely helpful to use AI. I think where we're losing with AI is a lot of the outreach. So how many times have you gotten the bot calls, that you're answering and then you realize, wait, this is not an actual person, right? And so it causes folks to lose distrust a little bit from that perspective. And there's so many nuances when you have a complex sales cycle that you really do need that human intervention to negotiate the relationships and figure out how to tailor things specifically to it. So I think the real winners are those that are combining that automation from a background and with a human connection.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you shared that because, everybody's talking about AI, and we're actually going to talk about AI in just a minute as well. And also, I should mention, a lot of people think that AI is kind of a new term. But when I was in the UK just recently, I don't know, I think my husband was watching the Legend channel, which had the old school Batman and Robin where you see the POW and everything on the screen. It was really funny. And then Knight Rider came on and we were watching it. And if you've ever seen Knight Rider, and I know this was a while ago, I think we looked it up, and that particular episode was from 1982. So Kit the car actually spoke. I think it was sort of autonomous, right? I mean, I didn't watch the show, so I'm not entirely sure. But while we were watching the show, Kit the car actually mentioned that the car needed an AI software as an upgrade to the car. And that was back in 1982, not even 1990, 1982. So AI has been on the market for a while. And Kit the car mentioned this back in 1982. I mean, it kind of blew my mind, not going to lie.
That's pretty wild, but it has been around so long. It's just, we didn't call it that. But yeah, if we could go back in time, right, and do our investments a little bit more wisely.
Right? I mean, who knows what would have happened? All right, let's get to our first article of the show. What is that was great timing, Nicole. I know you're in the background, but that was awesome. Okay. So this particular article I wanted to talk about because they're talking about how enterprise sales success now depends on how much value you can show. And you might be wondering, okay, well, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for our sales teams? And what they're talking about is proof of concept over RFP. I think what's happening with RFP is that AI is getting involved and AI can do this, right? And so I think the information that's coming out of the RFP, I'm not entirely sure customers or the buyers are trusting the information that's coming back from the RFP. So now they're like, show me the ROI, show me how you're going to help me, show me. So what did you think about this article? I've got a few other things to touch on. It talks about sales process, but then it also talks about AI and how companies are leaning on AI. Et cetera, et cetera. But I want you to weigh in on this first.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, 5 years ago, you could get an RFP and have 90% of the answers in your own little database. So you just pull all the regular old answers in, and then you'd figure out the little 10%. And then the buyer, when they would look at it, they'd probably throw out all the sales fluff and all the junk, and they'd look at the pricing and they'd look at the meat. And then they'd say, okay, now let's talk. Now let's see who brings the most value.
Right.
And that was like the last 5% of that sales cycle. And so I think now AI is like eliminated the first like 95%, it's condensed it down. So now it's almost like the entire sales cycle is that last 5%. That's the show me the value. How can you help me? How does it work in my world? And so I think that's what we're seeing across the board is that what used to be 5% of the sales cycle is now 95% of the sales cycle.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the things they mentioned in this particular article was around demos. So the increase around demos. And I don't think it's a demo where you're demoing the platform and you're just showing regular features that you have on the software. The demos that we're talking about in the increase is that they want to know specifically how you're going to solve for them. And then how specifically you are actually going to implement this software or this solution for them. And what does the implementation look like? So there's a lot more show me, and I want to say show me the money, but it's not really like show me the money. It's like show me the solution.
Show me the value.
Yeah. Which I think is really interesting because what that means is it's going to be less words and it's going to be more time in demos and showcasing and actually, I think, tailoring and personalizing. And I don't want to really call it a pitch anymore because really you're sitting down and you're having a discussion about partnership. So like, I don't even like the word pitch anymore. I don't know what word you would use otherwise, but you know what I'm trying to say here, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, a big part of this when you look at it across the board is companies want to know that you've considered them and it's a personalized process. And if they can't picture themselves in this chapter, well, they're not going to read your book. I mean, that there's just too many people out there offering solutions to the table. If you can't boil it down to their level, then they're just going to move on. So it puts a lot of pressure on companies to really dig in, especially when you're looking at so many RFPs or you're looking at so many potential customers. They're going to have to be smarter to invest their time wisely in the right customers and the right decisions.
Yeah, it's almost like when you go to buy a house and you're like walking through the house and the key buying signal is when somebody can picture themselves and they're already placing their furniture in the rooms. Is how I attribute that to this, right? How can you showcase the brand within your system and not your system within the brand's network?
Yes, absolutely. And that is where a lot of mid-sized to smaller companies can really eat the lunch of the industry giants because it's harder sometimes to take that more personalized approach. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of these mid-market and small companies are just trying to find one little nugget to carve out, and they're going to go really hard at that particular nugget, and then they're going to do it again, and they're going to do it again, and just to try to take those small bites because they can be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, if you've just joined us, make sure to put in the comments where you are watching from. We want to know. We've had quite a few people and we love seeing it. We've put you up on the screen. If you're loving the conversation, make sure to put a fire emoji in the comments as well, because we love to see some of those. All right. So let's get to our second article. Now, this actually comes straight from your website. And so you wrote this, and we talk about the 3 supply chain trends you can't ignore in 2025. But we're not just talking about supply chain trends you can't ignore. You're talking about supply chain trends you can't ignore, but also What's the mindset around helping to solve for these if you're in a sales position, right?
Yes.
So talk to me about this. I've got a couple of questions for you, but talk to me about this article and why it's so important right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at what's happening right now across, the supply chain world, you have the sustainability aspect, you have AI aspect, and you have just the speed of technology that's so rapidly advancing. And I think the traditional approach that a lot of companies take in this world is, hey, when it comes to sustainability, we're eco-friendly or our packaging is recycled, and so that's great, right? It's so much better than not being eco-friendly
Mhm.
and other solutions. But at the end of the day, your buyers are hearing that from every single person that comes through. So I think in order to really differentiate yourselves and move a little bit more from the product pusher to a market intelligence provider, then now you're putting yourself in a whole different category. And that's exactly how you stand out. So, when you're talking about sustainability, instead of saying we're eco-friendly, just making that little mindset shift and saying, here's how we can affect the scope 3 emissions reporting that you're doing. Or, hey, here's how your peers are balancing the risk and resilience against the compliance related issues. And so making that shift and really providing value to your customers in that world is going to make you the one that they want to call when they want to
Yeah.
get somebody's hot take on something, because they're all being inundated. They're going to say, oh, let me pick up and give them a call, because they always seem to know what's going on in this world.
Yeah. And how do you stay top of mind, right? When a client is reaching out to you or a potential client is reaching out to you for any reason, that is a really, really great sign. You talk a lot about old school sales approaches. And, when we talk about technology and AI, we talk about people being left behind if they're not cleaning up their data and they don't have their data house in order and they're not looking at AI. But this is kind of the same thing, right? If we're still in that old mindset, the old school sales approach type mentality of how to approach, again, I want to use the word pitch, but like really showcasing the value that your brand can bring to the table, you are going to be left behind because there is a lot of noise, right? It is a confusing market. And like you said, you want to guide the conversation. And so I like the fact that you've defined this into market intelligence provider, because I don't know about you, I've talked to a lot of people too, in the fact that, they get into the mentality that I'm not good at sales, I don't want to do sales. And I'm like, yeah, but like take that word out of it, because it's not really sales anymore. It's
Mhm.
really about relationships. It's really about bringing that value, the intelligence, and understanding the person's business and the challenges that they're having and what kind of solutions you bring to the table to help with that. And
Mhm.
I think it's more about building trust. Right?
Mhm.
Sales has such a bad connotation. Let's take that word out of it and let's talk about building that trust. Like, what is the word that encaptures trust? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, I think about, if you think about sales teams and the way they work. I mean, I've been in enterprise sales for over 20 years, and if you think about the way that they work, I mean, that rep is just going a million miles an hour. Your sales team, your sales leaders, they're trying to move things forward. And what happens is a customer will say, hey, what are you guys doing about this? And they give some kind of half answer, and then they run back and they ask their marketing team and they ask their team, what are we doing about this? And that's great, right? And so then they get the intel and they go back, hey, we're doing AI too. That's just not going to cut it, right? What really happens is you have to, before you go into the customer, you really got to look at where they're living, what their world is like, and how what you're doing fits into their world, like the furniture, right? They got to be able to
Yeah.
see themselves in the world in order to move forward with it. So that's
Yeah,
really
and
how
nobody wants to be sold to, right? They want to know that they've got somebody that they can lean on and trust to help them cut through the noise as well when it comes to what's going on in the market. What do they need to know? What are the things that we need to keep an eye on? That kind of thing. So it actually extends even past what you're providing as well. It extends into, like you said, the market intelligence, the industry knowledge. What do you know? What do you keep on top of? What are you keeping on top of for your clients? And how can they rely on you in that way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that is a challenge too with a lot of companies, why they're not able to scale, is because that founder or that CEO is all over it, right? Like they know exactly what's going on in the world, and then they have a sales team, and the sales team is not as familiar, right? And they're just not they just don't have that same level of knowledge. So documenting that, putting that through, building it into your entire strategy is so much an important factor. So then every single person on your team can be going in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I want to give a shout out. We've got Sandy and David over on my personal LinkedIn. Thanks so much for joining us. And I don't know if you caught it, but we already got some of our first fire emojis, which means we are doing a good job and we've got a great conversation happening today. All right, let's get to our last article. So I wanted to talk about this one. It is around women in business in 2024. It's a great download, but I wanted to talk about senior leadership positions in the fact that 35%, like there has been a bit of an increase in senior leaders or women in senior leadership positions. They're talking about parity in 2053. That's still very far off. Like that's what, like 28 years from now. So we're at 35%. They want to be at 50%, which they're saying is going to take another 28 years. Did I get my math right? I think I got my math right.
I'm not going to, we got to ask Night Rider on this one.
Somebody in the audience is going to come back and be like, either I got it right or I didn't. But I think it's important to note, right, with everything that's going on right now. But one of the things that really caught my attention was that female CEOs are down 28% to 19%. And I almost wonder where the survey data on this one came from, because I think it was more geared towards enterprise. And it's interesting because you own your own business. I own my own business. My team is like 95% women-owned businesses, which we're very, very proud of here at Let's Talk Supply Chain. And I just wonder if we're actually calling ourselves CEO.
It is, time and time again, there's so many amazing women that are running businesses, and you always hear them say something like, it's just my little company, or, oh, I only do this. And so minimizing that role, right? To say, yeah, I'm a CEO, I run this, right? A lot of them don't, they just deflect. And so it could be that they just don't, they don't identify themselves as CEO, but it's not overly surprising when you see the numbers go down, because at that early manager entry level, it's like 50-50, and then the higher up the position goes, the lower the percentage of women is. So if you have a couple CEOs turnover, the candidate pool is pretty small. But I agree with you. I don't think they're counting all the entrepreneurs and all the small and mid-market businesses in this, because there's so many, even personal friends that I have, there's so many women that are the boss.
Yeah, and we need to own it. Now, we do have a question in the audience going back to RFPs and sales, and I want to get to that real quick because we don't have a lot of time. One last thing on this particular article, there's a lack of pipeline. So I just want to throw that out there, is that there's a lack of pipeline when a woman leaves senior leadership or a CEO position. There's not another woman that's coming up behind them. So just to throw that out there. But here is the question from the audience. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name because it shows LinkedIn user. Specifically speaking about RFPs and referrals, have there been any changes due to AI? Also, are there any interesting services or tools available that help with the referral process? So real quick, we've got about a minute, but I wanted you to answer that one, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there is a ton of changes that have happened in relation to AI, and most major companies are running all their RFPs through AI to boil it down to the simplest topic. So a lot of times all that's being done for you. Are there any tools or services that help you? Oh my gosh, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of tools out there that will help you. And that, my friend, is the biggest problem right now with standing out. So for all Sarah's audience that are developers of these amazing tools that help you respond to an RFP, I'm sure they're going to be inundating your inbox. So maybe you're glad you're a LinkedIn user only, but there are amazing tools out there. And so that's why those that can cut through the noise are gonna end up winning in this world.
And you can always DM Kelly so we can blow up her inbox on LinkedIn as well. Sorry, Kelly. I want to give a final shout out because we've got Romina, we've got Roy, and we've got Noreen over on my personal LinkedIn. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us this morning. I thought it was going to be a really busy morning, and I wasn't sure, how many people we were going to have, but this has been a great show, and I really appreciate you guys for showing up and showing out today. Have an amazing week ahead. We've got a great show coming up for you again next week, so stay tuned. And Kelly, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.